Hey guys, well, I just wanted to tell you about this really spectacular movie that just came out on Netflix. It's called The Wandering Earth. And before I get started, there's going to be spoilers. So if you don't want to hear the spoilers, then I appreciate you clicking on this, but don't watch this review. This is a movie that came out, it's Chinese made, it was made in China, and this movie grossed over $700 million just in China, and it's only gotten a large release on Netflix. It just came out on Netflix on the 30th of April. And this is the kind of movie that years ago, or even today, would be considered, if it came out in the United States, a huge blockbuster. You know, this would be on the level of Armageddon with Ben Affleck. This would be, Interstellar. This would be The Matrix. This movie made more money than The Matrix. Uh, and this movie it's a cool movie. I watched it last night on Netflix, and it has amazing special effects. And it's got a really cool, the way that the camera moves, it kind of reminded me of Gravity and all kinds of different things. It's really awesome, and it reminded me a lot of two in particular movies, Interstellar, and then kind of funny, Wally. But I'll explain why it reminds me of Wally here in a minute. So anyway, the movie starts off where it's this father and his little son and his dad. And the father's getting ready to leave and go on this mission, this space mission, similar to Interstellar. And what's happening is the sun is expanding, and it's going to destroy the Earth. And it's already caused like tons of like earthquakes and all this stuff. So the world comes together under, I guess you could call it, they call it something different, but you could call it the United Nations. And they decide to build these 10,000 massive, huge engines on the Earth at all these different points. And they pretty much essentially turn the Earth into its own spaceship. And they plot a course to, it's like 3.5 light years away, a new solar system with a sun similar to ours, in order to escape our sun that is expanding and is going to die. So what they got to do is they got to fly till they get to Jupiter, and then they're going to use Jupiter's gravity to help slingshot them the rest of the way. And this space station is kind of like leading the pathway. So anyway, so the movie flash forwards, and now the dad, he's up in space in the space shuttle, or the space station pretty much is what it is. And his son is now grown up, and he's on Earth. And so one of the things that I want to say that it reminded me of Wally is, I don't know if you remember, I love that movie Wally, but remember the captain of the ship? It has a robot that controls everything, like the wheel of the ship, and the captain and the robot end up, going against one another, and the captain has to end up destroying the robot. Well, that's actually essentially what happened. So the space station, as they're approaching Jupiter, the Earth is on a downward trajectory, and it actually gets caught in Jupiter's gravity, and it's going to pull the Earth. The Earth got too close. It's going to pull the Earth into Jupiter and destroy it. So there's this secret, like, in order to keep humans alive, the space station, the computer that runs it is called Moss. They have, all these hundreds of thousands of seeds and all these human embryos and all these animal and plant and different embryos on this ship. And it was, if the Earth ever got destroyed, the space station would continue on, and at least it wouldn't, at least it would still have life from this Earth. It would still have the embryos and the plants and all that. So the Earth is going to crash because the engines begin to fail on the Earth that they're using to propel it. So when they begin to fail, the people try to restart them, but it's too late, and they get stuck in Jupiter's gravity, and they're going to get pulled into Jupiter. So what they end up finding out is as Jupiter is, as the Earth gets close to Jupiter, it's sucking off the Earth's atmosphere, the oxygen. And the big eye in the center of Jupiter is hydrogen. And hydrogen and oxygen are combustible. So as the Earth is being pulled in, what it's going to do is it's going to suck the atmosphere off. The people on the Earth are going to all asphyxiate, and eventually the Earth is just going to crash into Jupiter and be destroyed. So the Sun and his grandpa and all them and this group of other people, they realize that this one engine is facing the eye, and there's enough of the Earth's atmosphere, enough oxygen pulled into the eye on Jupiter, which is hydrogen, that if they could re-energize the engine, they could shoot a beam of fire essentially from the engine that would ignite the atmosphere mixed in with the hydrogen on Jupiter and explode, which would give them a wave to push them out away from Jupiter and keep the Earth from crashing. Even though it's going to do lots of damage to the Earth, it would still keep the Earth pretty much alive. But so the Sun and his grandpa and this group are trying to do that. And anyway, up on the space station, the father realizes this as well, so he wants to assist his son and the group on the Earth, but the computer is like, no, this is a bad idea. And even down on Earth, the United Nations is like, we've already calculated this, and there's a very small chance, and it's not worth it, even though all of the people on Earth and the Earth is going to be destroyed. It's better for what they call Helios, which is the space station, to go forward and leave the Earth behind and let the Earth die. So the father's like, this ain't happening, and he ends up he takes alcohol, because alcohol, I guess, I didn't know this before, is combustible in space, throws it on the robot, the computer that runs the space station, destroys it, and then he jettisons all of the people that are in cryo sleep to save them, and they land back on the Earth, and he pilots the Helios, the space station, into the beam in order to cause an explosion, ignite the hydrogen and oxygen, and propel the Earth away from Jupiter. And it's really cool because at first the son, he's angry that his dad left. And his dad used to tell him when he was little, because the son was only 4 when the dad left. And he used to say, when you get to the point where you can see Jupiter's eye, then I'll be home. Because the plan was for his mission to end, and once the Earth got close to Jupiter, he was going to go back to the Earth and be back with his family. But because of this problem with the engines and then the Earth getting pulled into Jupiter, that was all scrubbed. So his son is angry. And, he's angry because he hasn't seen his dad since he was 4, and he wanted him to come home. And in a lot of ways, he's trying to be, strong and kind of like, screw you, Dad, and all that stuff. But in actuality, he really misses his dad. So anyway, the dad sacrifices himself, ignites Jupiter, and all the people, there's these underground cities that are built under the engines where all the people live on Earth. They all go back underground. The wave hits the Earth. It does a lot of damage, but it pushes the Earth further out of Jupiter's hold, and they continue on. And it's really, like I said, it's really a cool movie. I love the special effects. The story is really good. And what I thought was funny is you watch this, if it was an American story, then the Americans would be at forefront. But because it's a Chinese story, the Chinese people are at forefront. They're the main focus of the story. But one thing that I thought is there's always a common value, whether it's American-made movie or Chinese-made movie, and they're socialists and communists and all this different stuff. When it comes down to bad things happening to the Earth, every people realizes that for us to survive, we got to come together. We got to come together. We can't be all like crazy separated. We got to come together as a group. And I really enjoyed that message. And I would tell anybody, if this movie came out in the movie theater and it was an American-made movie, it would be a summer blockbuster. But because it came out in China, nobody cares about it. But it's a great movie. It's got a great story. It's got awesome special effects. It's got really cool science, and it keeps you interested. I really enjoyed the movie, and I think they need to make a part 2 and see what happens. The story is really expanded. You know, they said it would take 700 generations to end up getting to this star, and I think it'd be cool if they did a part 2 of the movie where it's kind of sped up in the future, and we kind of see the Earth getting to this point, you know, where it's in this new solar system, and maybe what happens then. But like I said, check out this movie on Netflix. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. It's a really good movie. So this is David, Zoe Zizzles. Have a great one. Bye.